Welcome back to Caelesti, guys. Today, before we start the video, I just wanted to give a huge thank you. We have actually now reached 1,000 downloads in total for Caelesti. I know the majority of these downloads are simply from the Molten Netherite tools and the animated Mojang loading screen, which has actually now been removed in this update because of 1.16. But yeah, I just wanted to give a huge thank you to you guys for this massive achievement. I'm not really going to be doing anything for 1,000 downloads. I've got a few plans in mind for 500 subscribers and 1,000 subscribers in the future. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. Thanks, guys. I hope you're enjoying the pack, and we're going to continue working on this pack until it is absolutely finished. So yeah, without further ado, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the rest of the video. What's up, guys? My name is Scalibur, and welcome back to Caelesti. This is update 0.17.2 of the resource pack, and today we're actually going to be introducing the resource pack to 1.16. This is the first version of Caelesti which is technically compatible with 1.16. If you go on the CurseForge website right now, you'll be able to see that the download link is actually listed as for 1.16 and 1.15, and the reason for that is because I've done this very simple few measures of fixing some things up so that they work in Optifine for 1.16. For example, with the color maps, we have 4 new columns to introduce the basalt deltas, Crimson Forest, Warped Forest, and also the Soul Sand Valley as well. So if you have been playing on Optifine for 1.16 with the new preview versions for 1.16.1, then you should find that you no longer have any weird issues with that as well. And I just realized that book Z Fights in vanilla. In vanilla. Why? Anyway, welcome back to the pack, guys. Today we have a pretty, well, actually, it's a pretty small update, really, but it just adds a lot of stuff. So first of all, grass now has 16 orientations per grass texture, and you can see in some cases it does look a little bit whack. I've been working on it a little bit more. I actually released a version of the pack yesterday, 0.17.2, and it got about 11 downloads before I then immediately took it off CurseForge and re-uploaded it with some slight alterations to the way that the grass is being rendered. Whenever you have these alternative crosses like this, where it's like a 45-degree offset or a 90-degree offset, like with that one, sometimes it can look a little bit weird, but I've kind of been playing around with the size of the cubes to make it look as good as possible, and I think it's gotten to a point now where I'm kind of happy with it. We might change it again in the future, but it just adds a whole new load of variety to every time you're in a field or a taiga or a forest or anything like that. So grass now has 16 orientations per texture with a total of 8 texture variants for a total of 128 variants of grass. Same thing applies to ferns as well. Ferns have had the exact same treatment. Ferns use the exact same model set and block state set as grass because it's just 8 textures with 16 orientations once again. And as you can see here, it looks pretty nice. I think it actually looks better on the ferns than it does the grass because the grass has all these like thin stringy bits and the ferns just generally look a bit better. However, speaking of the texture for ferns, I'm not entirely happy with the texture at the moment. I've realized that what I was going for is nice, but it's so different to vanilla that I'm not sure I like it anymore. It's very drastic. We're going to stay with it for now, but maybe in the future we'll come back and change that. But as you can see here, tall grass and large ferns have had the same treatment, and I think these ones look really good with the rotations because it doesn't really affect them too much. But as you can see there, when you're looking at a big dense field of grass, it just looks much better now. You just have like lots of orientation and variation, and I just think that the way that this looks is so much better than the very, very unified look of vanilla. And once again, this is like directional as well. So all of the cross models are done logically so that when you circle around them, they don't just randomly rotate with you, as I've explained in previous videos. So hopefully a little fix that you'll enjoy there. Again, same thing with the large ferns and also same thing with the dead bush as well. Now moving on from that, we now have a whole new host of variations for the grass side texture. I recently played in 1.16 on vanilla with the Moonshot SMP before Optifine was out for 1.16, and I realized that my grass side texture is very, very repetitive. So all I've done is I've added 8 different variants for the side texture, as well as the original 4 different variants for the top texture, and as a result, we now have 8 times 4 variants for grass, so 64 in total. So yes, wait, did I do that right? 8 times 64? Oh, and the rotations as well. No. So it's 8 times 4, which is 32, with 4 rotational variants, which is 128, right? Yeah, so it's 128 variants of grass blocks, basically, because you have all different combinations of side texture, top texture, rotations, and it basically means that grass is now a hell of a lot more random from looking at the side. Looking at grass from the top is still exactly the same as it was before. It's the same, but looking at it from the side now, you will notice a lot more variation on the side texture as well. We now have a new fix for bamboo. It's kind of become a meme. I realized in my community that bamboo was laggy as shit. There was that one video, I don't know if you guys remember, where I showcased a new scaffolding model which had about 25 elements, and I built a huge pillar of scaffolding all the way up to world height, and then, you know, took a look at my FPS and saw how much it went down by when I came back to the game. And my god, it was a bit laggy. So I have simply changed around the way that scaffolding works nowadays. So it no longer uses a bunch of individual cubes to map out the nets on top here. It's just one flat texture, similar to how the vanilla method does it. So it still has a darker underside texture, a brighter topside texture, and it still matches up with all the things around it. So it's still a massive improvement from vanilla, because the vanilla scaffolding texture is a mess. But it's no longer laggy. So there you go. Scaffolding is a little bit better now. Onwards from that, we have one of my favorite features from today's update, if not my favorite feature from today's update. We now have new unique textures for all of the saplings, and my god, I love them. I love them so much. Last time I designed textures for the saplings was in Scur in v3.6 or v3.7, and they were messy. They were ugly as hell. I used gradienting, shading, I used brushes. It was a mess. It was a mess. It was before I'd learned proper pixel art tools and methods and things like that, and I can safely say that these ones look a hell of a lot nicer. Beforehand, in Scur, when you placed down a sapling in world, it looked nice in your inventory, but then as soon as it was in the world, it looked horrendous because it did not fit the surrounding fauna at all, and they were biome dependent and they looked great. But now obviously we've got our new biome dependency methods where we have unique versions for all of the 6 trees as opposed to just the pine and the birch like is recommended in Optifine. So we have new unique textures for all of the saplings, and we're going to be hopping over into Biome Loader in a minute and showcasing that. And before we do hop over into Biome Loader, I also have one other thing worth showcasing as well. I have completely redone the leaf crosses. There is now a huge variation with all of the leaf crosses, and a lot of stuff is going on here, so I'll quickly run over it. So first of all, we have 4 default crosses, which are variations of crosses like this. And again, this was inspired by the alternate crosses that we have for the grass and ferns and everything else. So occasionally with the ferns, well, actually, let's get a few examples out here, shall we? So that's a 45 degree, 45 degree, 45, more 45. There it is. So there's the original cross. So this is how every cross looked beforehand, right? You had the 90 degree, you know, offset cross model like that, like how it is in vanilla. And that was nice. It was good. But the way that I did variation with that model, let's see if we can get one nearby. There we go. So the way I did variation with this model beforehand was that the 50% of the leaves would look like this, and 50% of the leaves would look like they were in vanilla, basically. And that would mean that whenever you had them next to each other, they would Z-fight awfully. Now, as a new method, what happens here, as you can see there, is the crosses no longer intersect each other. So you will never have any Z-fighting problems between the leaves, which is really nice. And also now, as opposed to having default variants of the leaves, you instead just have alternating cross variants. So as you can see here, we have the 45 degree offset, and they're all in different rotations, different angles. And what this basically means is, regardless of the situation with your tree, regardless of how you place down your leaves, you will never experience any Z-fighting problems anymore, which was the big issue. So I'm really pleased to say that that has been fixed. It's really cool. So yeah. And the same thing applies to dark oak trees. So a few different models are being used here, duplicate models. So we have the same thing is being used for oak trees, birch trees, and dark oak trees. So it's just 4 variations of the cross within the block, and then they're getting rotated around randomly in addition to that as well. And that's used by the oak, birch, and dark oak. As for the spruce, we have a little bit of a different situation going on. We have multiple variants of crosses that follow different rules, as you can see here. So we have more variants. So we have the original 90 degrees regular vanilla cross inside the block, as you can see there, and we also have a tighter cross like that, and this of course can be rotated around. Actually, we got one here, didn't we? Yeah, so that can be rotated around 90 degrees to look like this as well, and of course it can be rotated around 4 times so that you have variation on the side textures, which are a little bit different to each other. As you can see there, they are a tiny bit different. And of course we also have the 45 degree offset panes like that can also be rotated around. So basically, pine trees actually have more variation now, and the difference with the side texture is they actually stick up a tiny bit more at the sides. And when you have a giant pine tree, I need to change the naming, a giant spruce tree, it actually looks very, very nice. I really love the way this looks now. So we'll just quickly get one of these down and grow that. There we go. So yeah, if you look at the side of this texture now, beforehand, what it would look like is the side of the tree would be a mess, because you would occasionally just have a flat side where there was a regular leaf block, and then you would come out to the bushiness, and then a flat side where there was a regular leaf block, and then the regular bushiness. Now, every single leaf has bushiness, but it's always different. always different, and I think it looks really nice. Trees look a lot more natural, a lot more bushy, and there is actually just one over there, so I could have just gone and shown that one. But yeah, I think they look much better now. Every single tree in the game this applies to as well. So I think spruce is the best example, but obviously this applies to all of them. Oak trees and birch trees, and especially jungle trees, look very, very sexy now. So yeah, so moving on from that, we have jungle trees. Now, do you know what? I'm actually going to just get a jungle tree as well, because I might as well. I love the jungle sapling. The jungle sapling is my favorite of the new saplings, easily. I think it looks awesome. So we'll get a new jungle tree, okay. And as you can see here, from the lower parts of the leaves, we have a new... This looks so much better than it did before, man. Oh my god. So when I originally made this hanging vines thing for the jungle trees, I don't know if you guys remember that from a previous version. I mean, you can just go to 0.17.1 and you'll be able to see it if you go have a look. But basically, these hanging vines didn't follow my personal rule of rotation, or like the rotation thing. So if you rotated around them, they would rotate with you, and that was before I kind of like became obsessed with how bad that was. So jungle trees beforehand looked weird. They looked really, really annoying, because when you would circle around these hanging vines, they would really obviously rotate around with you, and it wasn't nice at all. So fast forward to now, and I have basically fixed this so that all of the hanging crosses on the jungle trees do not rotate with you. They are logical, as they are with everything else. And I've also tweaked how the textures are, so they look a bit better. You can see here we have one of the original hanging textures like that. This was originally a full block long, and it would stop quite sharply at the bottom, but now it kind of like curves quite nicely, and it's very short, it's very subtle. It doesn't look that much different to the rest of the leaf litter underneath the tree, to be completely honest. And of course, I still love this one, the kind of like looping and hanging one that looks kind of like a number 9. Now I look at it from a certain angle. But overall, I just think it looks a hell of a lot better. I think jungle trees look really nice now. I still love this, that the underside of jungle trees just looks so messy. I think it looks amazing. It sort of fits the vibe of jungles so well. And of course, now with this new rotational logic with these hanging vines, it just makes it that little bit better. So I have basically gone through this update and just improved all the things that I was disappointed with the inconsistencies of previous leaf models, basically. And finally, the acacia tree is the same as before, in that it's just a flat plane that goes across like that. And there are, of course, variations with the angle and everything else. We do still, unfortunately, get this lighting thing, but that doesn't happen with shaders. It's the same thing as the sunflower problem. So some of you will remember, if we place down a sunflower, because of the way this model has been made, the top of the sunflower is never lit properly. And that's not something I can fix, because it's a vanilla problem, unfortunately. So if you are using shaders, this is the same problem. It will just go away as soon as you start using shaders as well. So again, following on with that trend, the idea that the acacia leaves are wide and sprawling and big. So if you look up at an acacia tree, I should have put saplings down, shouldn't I? I should have put saplings down. If you look up at an acacia tree, I love the acacia sapling as well, then you can see that it's kind of like wider from the bottom. So you can't really like see the edges of the leaf blocks unless you're looking for it. And again, from a distance, I just think it looks really nice. I think it looks really good. It actually looks really good from the top, which is annoying because no one's ever going to see it from the top, but I think it looks excellent from up here. I think it looks really, really nice. So, yes. So that's the new leaves. New leaves are really, really cool. Anyway, moving on to the primary feature of today's update. You can see I'm getting bored of the Flora stuff, can't you? Like, I've literally dedicated this update to saplings and leaves and scaffolding and grass and everything else. So it's like, yes, I'm getting a little bit bored of making flower models and making 7 different textures for them, making them biome, but it's a mess. It's annoying. Anyway, yeah. Without further ado, let's go over to Biome Loader. And here we are on the Biome Loader world. Welcome back to Biome Loader. I've already explained what this thing's for so many times. So if you want to have a look at this world, you can go check it out for yourself, I guess. I'll have a card up here, right? Yeah, so if you want to go check out Biome Loader, you can just click the card and there you go. Off you go. So yeah, welcome back. Here we are in the Biome Loader test world. Once again, I have a little bit of concrete here signifying what I want to change in future updates and what I want to keep the same. And rose bushes. Rose bushes look excellent. They look so good. I love this. I have been like crying over over what to do with these things for the longest time because this was a pain. Like to come up with a good idea for a texture like this. Like, what do you do? I mean, this is pretty bad now. Like, after having made this, I'm not entirely happy with how this looks anymore, and we might change this, but I like it for now. It's not terrible, but we might change this now. But I love the way that these rose bushes look. Someone in the PCO, I should give you credit. What was it? Simon. Was it Simon? It was Simon. It was Simon in the PCO. Thank you, Simon. You actually recommended the idea of making the roses by having a little extra cross on the side to add a little bit of texture and a little bit of depth to the roses from all the different angles. And man, I think it looks really good. I think it looks awesome. And of course, these roses have biome dependency. So there are 7 different variants for... Let me list them off. Cold, dark, desert, savanna, swamp, and vivid as well. You can see these are the dark variants. I love the dark variants. It's so good. I was thinking the other day, right, when I get around to making the peony model, which I know I said I'd do it in this episode. I'm sorry, I got bored. But like when I get around to doing the peony model, it's probably going to look more like the original peony when it's in a dark biome, because it's going to look the same level of brightness. Is that darkened? I feel like that's not been darkened. Has it been darkened? Well, it's been made dry here. Is it? I feel like it hasn't been darkened. Did we forget the lilac? Bruh, I think we forgot the lilac. Look, we did, because the leaves are darker, but the stems aren't. Oh my god, I'm dumb. Holy shit. Okay, well, I'm going to fix that. Sorry, guys. That'll be in 0.17.3 now, I guess. Never mind. But yeah, I imagine the peonies are going to look more like their original texture when they're in a dark biome. So that's an interesting thing, I guess. But yeah. So there's the regular variant again. We have the dark variant. That's the swamp variant over here. Just sort of a little bit browned. I don't think you can actually find roses in swamps, but again, there's always going to be that one guy who tries to build in a weird biome. And here's the cold variant as well. I think that one actually looks really nice. Once again, the flowers have been desaturated, as they are with almost every flower in the cold biome. I love the fauna in the cold biome. It looks so good. Except that's getting changed, so that's why it's orange, as you can see. But yeah, and as you can see here, we have all different colours for the saplings as well. So whenever you have a sapling placed down in a biome, its colours will actually reflect the colours of the leaves and the branches when it's placed down. So as you can see here in the cold biome, we have the bluish leaves for the pine tree, and we also have the slightly blued logs as well, and that is reflected in the texture of the sapling. And if we go to other biomes, such as this one over here, which I believe is birch forest, then we actually have the pink cherry trees, as you can see. And again, the sapling reflects that pink cherry tree. And one thing you can actually see as well with the cherry tree is the log of the cherry tree sapling is actually a little bit greyed, as it is when you have logs in biomes where the oak trees are cherry trees. So it kind of all matches up nicely. It's really good. Let's find another one, another drastic example. There's another cold biome. Here's a swampy biome. I think this is a birch forest, isn't it? No, this is Swamp Hills. Actually, it's a Swamp Hills. Okay. All the saplings look awful. They look awful, but the trees look awful. So, what can I say? Like, all the trees look bad, so of course the saplings look bad. The only funny thing is, right, if you live in a swamp, you're only really going to have oak trees, so I guess that's what you're going to have. So, yeah. Yeah, also, I should probably note as well, obviously, when you have these in your inventory, they are going to be nice and green and pretty, and then when you place them, they turn to the colour of the respective biome. This is going to be the same for flowers, when we have flowers in cold biomes, or vivid biomes, or dark biomes, they're obviously going to look similar in the inventory as they always do when I actually get around to making the item textures for these things. That's just not something we can really do, unfortunately, and I would much rather actually have the the biome consistency that I'm going for here as opposed to logical consistency with the item textures in your inventory and everything else. So yeah. Anyway, there isn't really much more to showcase in this update, to be completely honest. A lot of things that have been changed in the background are like models. I've been kind of refining how a lot of the models work in this pack. When I first started out making all the Flora, I had every single model have a base texture, and so it would have a parent base texture and then reference that parent texture with the actual model. With the newer models, I've not been doing that. So all the sunflower models, all the model details are actually contained in the sunflower file. Same for the lilac, same for the rose bush, and I also believe it's the same for the azure bluets as well. So I changed those ones in this update. Oh yeah, azure bluets have been lowered. Damn it, I should really just get the checklist up next to me when I'm recording these. Azure bluets have been lowered a tiny bit. And I think they look way better for it. They look tiny now. I saw a picture of azure bluets and realized that mine were huge. So I just simply took all the textures and lowered the stem considerably. And I obviously made that change for all the different biome variants as well. So they will still work as you'd expect. So yeah, it's all good. Everything's looking nice. So yeah, basically, long story short, what this update adds, we've fixed all the leaves. The leaves look 10 times better now. Saplings have a new unique texture, which I love. And they are all biome dependent, and they match up with the log color and the leaf color for every single biome. Now, in total, there are 37 different variants of each of the sapling colors. There are actually 10 variants for oak trees. I had no idea, but we have 10 variants of oak trees in this pack. I had no idea. But if you do find any bugs, if you place a sapling down in a biome and it doesn't look like that biome, please do let me know. There's a lot of property files, trust me. So obviously, for every single For every single sapling, of which there are 37 variants, with a total of 43 saplings, counting the the original 6, I have had to basically make a .properties file for all 37 and include every single biome where they will be different, which in total is like over 50 biomes basically, for every sapling. So if you do find any errors, then please do let me know, because I've almost definitely missed something. So yeah, I basically just put down a bunch of leaves in every biome and just eyeballed it. It was really bad, but it worked. So there you go. Anyway, what to look forward to in the next update. Obviously, I'm going to do the peonies in the next update. I still don't really have a clue what to do with these. I'm tempted to just literally reuse the rose bush, remove the crosses, and then make the rose texture pink, and that would probably do the job. But I also want to have unique variety, because we've had uniqueness for pretty much everything else so far. So I'm probably going to try and do something a little bit more original for peonies. But yeah, and as usual, if you have any suggestions or bug reports, please do join the Discord and get in touch. And of course, you can always join the discussion by joining there as well. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and please feel free to go download Caelesti 0.17.2 from CurseForge. I've been Scalibur, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.